Hey, I'm Chad McKnight,
I'm AJ Bowen.
I'm Jacob Gentry.
and you're watching Super Méchant.
First, guys, can you tell us a bit about your role in the film and about the film itself to present to our viewers?
Hi, Chad McKnight, Jim Beal, Prime 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Infinity Jim Beal.
That's right.
AJ Bowen, I played Chuck.
The best friend.
The best
Yeah,
friend.
I'm Jacob Gentry, writer-director.
All right. Can you tell us a bit about the film? Bit of story-wise, what's your character doing? And
The movie's about a physicist named Jim Beal, played by Chad McKnight, and his partner in crime, or in space crime, AJ Bowen, is also a physicist, and they are trying to open a traversable wormhole in the space-time continuum. And when they do, some mysteries are uncovered that lead them to what becomes almost like a detective search. And then once he goes back in time through the wormhole to try to find out what happened, to try to solve the conspiracy, he finds out some really revealing things about the other characters in the movie.
Yeah.
Not what a movie I
And
had no idea.
Himself also. You had no idea?
That's first. Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about?
He thought he was in a wacky farm
I
comedy.
really. Yeah, I did. Got no laughs, and then it was totally lost.
Can you tell us a bit how challenging was to play Jim 1, 2, 3, 4 times?
Yeah, extremely challenging. I said this last night. I think had to check in with him on the mathematics. Wardrobe helped, knowing which Jim I was, just with a white shirt or a vest or a jacket on, and then
Or just nothing?
or just nothing, just
Those
the
are my
constant
favorite-
confusion.
those are my favorite
So hopefully,
times.
the slight subtle
You
differences.
look so good in it.
Yeah.
Your
you
body
take-
with your shirt off is
Do you have
Thank you.
highly erotic.
You have a good story about that, AJ?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's
Jeez.
between me and Chad.
Yeah. I shaved.
AJ, we used to see you play those lunatics, Psycho, and everything in Hatchet, and of course in The Signal. Can you tell us a bit how challenging it was to put you in character to actually be best man, the best friend of Jim here?
Well, first of all, it's all just pretend, anyways. But this one, other than any role I've done, is probably closer to being more in my voice and my personality. And my middle name is actually Charles, and the character's name is Chuck. And Jacob wrote the part specifically with me in mind, and same with Scott, who played Maddie. So it was refreshing at the time, because I had come off of playing a bunch of really unpleasant human beings and trying to humanize that.
Yeah.
But in this one, the humanity is already there. I just have to try to not get in the way of it. And I'm friends real life with Chad and Scott, and so the times that we got to be on screen together was just sort of like our chance to kind of breathe and sort of just play, like playing ball with your friends, because there's a level of trust there that exists where we know that, okay, well, we don't have to worry about this one thing, we just get to sit there and listen to each other, and then we're having that conversation with Jacob during it.
It must have been really nice, change of pace. Or in The Signal, you brutally murdered him. And you guys are playing best friends. And then
and to that end,
Yeah.
Oh, that's a spoiler for The
It's
Signal.
a
He
big-
brutally murders him in The Signal.
Yeah, and talking still about another spoiler, I guess, Jim also plays Jim in The Signal.
yeah.
Oh, there is a theme
He
there,
likes
isn't
the
there?
Jim theme.
And,
Now that question last night makes more sense to me that you posed.
Yeah, the question about the dog. I think we could just wrap going really quick about that. Do you think, Jacob, that since he had the dog in The Signal, and now in this movie he has the chance to get the girl twice or 3 times at the same time almost?
What do you mean get? What do
Yeah.
you mean get?
Well, actually,
Big love.
Okay,
yeah.
so I've worked with Chad. I've worked with Chad on several projects, and up until this movie, we've always had this kind of secret thing where I just gave him some kind of sexual hang-up, whether he was, he was in this movie I made called My Super Psycho Sweet 16, where he played almost a little skeevy older guy, and this other project we made, he had a small genitalia. And so I always try to give him sexual hang-ups, so it was really nice to kind of pay him back.
Yeah,
he had to suffer through all of these terrible sexual hang-ups, and then obviously, if you've seen The Signal, you know how much of a sexual hang-up his character is in that, making out with dogs on New Year's Eve. And so this was kind of like, now you get to have the girl. You finally, thanks for putting up with all that other stuff. You get to...
Yeah.
Myself and my roommate used to every New Year watch The Signal, and we just like, that's
That's so great. You watched it on New Year's?
Yeah.
That's so cool, because no one ever talks about that, because it's like, there's not a lot of New Year's movies.
No,
That's like,
that's
you know,
the new
Strange
one.
Days.
Yeah.
It could be like the New Year movie of like maybe Black Christmas. Or
Yeah, exactly.
So
It's a good
it's like
post about...
the 2000s bug that everyone was scared of.
Y2K, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have Mother's Day, we have Happy Birthday to Me,
Yeah.
you got April Fool's Day, you got all of these things, signals your New Year's Day movie.
Yeah.
Well,
now,
there's New Year's Evil though. I forgot about that.
now back to the Synchronicity. Jacob, you made an amazing work, like writing all the mathematics. I think it's like mostly a shame. I mean, the way you wrote the film and every pieces of the puzzle that you thought that weren't there, that weren't missing, that you thought you were right at the beginning. I won't spoil anything, but you made it like, then you go, wow, I never thought of that. So all the time, it's like always mind-bending. All the time, there's always some surprise. Most of the time when you have movies that with a lot of dialogues, sometimes you get lost in them. But now it's just like the dialogues are the action. Can you tell us a bit about how you proceed to the inspiration and to write the film?
The inspiration to write the...
All that to get the
Yeah, I mean, I think the head trip of it is really fun. I like the idea of a movie that can challenge you and entertain you. I like the idea of having something that you can discuss, and since it is hard science fiction, part of the fun of time travel movies is always a good discussion afterwards. And I think that because I knew that I would have these actors, people like Chad and AJ that bring such humanity to it, I didn't get as concerned that the audience would get lost because they are the touchstone for it. So they kind of like are your guide into it. So when it gets a little too heady for some people, they at least have this sort of touch of humanity, and like they can really use these guys as touchstones to kind of shepherd them through and maybe ease them into some of the more high-minded concepts of the whole thing. But also just really it was just that one section of Back to the Future Part 2 where Marty is in the leather jacket and the hat, and then he goes to revisit a scene from Part 1, and I was like, that'd be really interesting if you had a whole movie of that. You know what I mean? That kind of version of time travel where the parallax view of your past, you could actually be a part, you could actually witness something that you've been a part of, your own life, and see it from a different point of view, and that gives you a new kind of perspective on the whole thing. So.
And since they're both your friends since long time, I guess you actually wrote the characters, like Charles said, for him, and you also thought of Charles.
Yeah,
Chad
absolutely.
for Jim.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Good. Now back to the serious stuff. There's a lot of visuals effects in the film, like when I won't say it, but there's a lot of visual, okay? And I want to know how many espressos you use to make these effects.
How many espressos?
Yeah, because it totally looks like color coffee and everything.
All of them?
All of them.
All the espressos.
Talk about the wormhole?
Yeah.
Oh,
The wormhole. When
yeah, that's this artist named Kim Pimmel, who we actually found some of his work on Vimeo and reached out to him and asked him if he wanted to collaborate on this movie. And because we wanted to represent the wormhole with something, we didn't want to use
blue or green, like the
We didn't want to
other
use,
colors.
well, what he does is like macro photography in petri dishes. So what you're seeing when you see these wormhole, it's more of like the experience of going through the wormhole as opposed to seeing it itself, as opposed to something like Stargate where you can actually see them going into it. This is actually like, we wanted the character's experience and in combination with Ben's music, the feeling of that. And so he has this macro photography time lapse, which is actually just inks and different liquids floating in a petri dish and filmed in a microscopic level, so it appears to feel like some kind of nebula in space.
Because
you
to
know?
me, it totally looked like someone was drawing in an espresso. So
That's what it. Yeah, we just shot tablecloths and just poured coffee on it.
This is your brain.
Various amounts of cream and sugar, depending on what look we wanted for the room.
a lot of coffee were drank during the filming.
A lot of coffee?
Yeah.
I think so.
Diet Coke for him.
I mean, I'm
Oh,
mainlining
no,
a
you
lot
did.
of cocaine.
But
Between my
you're
toes.
saying that though, as though that was like a thing for the movie. That's just what we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we didn't do any less or more cocaine.
Just about the same amount. We kept a healthy cocaine
Yeah, to keep
regimen.
the gears.
Yeah.
And pills. Like
Oh,
for Jamie
pills.
was totally speed.
Right.
So good. Since the show is called Super Méchant, in English it translates to supervillain, we talk about the villains in the movie. Can you tell us a bit the experience you had with the villain in the film, and with what makes him such a good villain? Or
Is that he's played by Michael Ironside.
That's pretty much what makes him good.
yeah, because he plays all the good bad guys, of course. But maybe there's another bad guy other than him, because of course we see Ironside in the film, but we don't see him that
I
long.
see what you're getting at. I think that one of the kind of themes of the movie is that sometimes you can be your own worst enemy, and I think that this movie actually makes that literal, where the main character finds out that perhaps the nemesis that he's been contending isn't the one you think.
His own
His
feelings,
ego.
It is his own ego and
envy.
his own envy and jealousy and longing are the things that he's actually fighting against, and because it's time travel, we get to make that literal.
Because I thought when he went back through time the first time, I was like, okay, so it's gonna go that way. Oh no, it's going that way.
Well, that's the thing, that you can constantly be in the same situation over and over, thinking you're going to act differently, and you go back and you always choose the same path. It's just whether that's what you were learned, if therapists say is learned behavior from your parents or whatever, until you really
I think males.
get out of your
We
future.
really-
In that
We really like to make the
situation,
same
Mel,
mistakes.
it's
We like to make the same mistakes in relationships, and then you look back on it, you're like, man, if I could just do that again the way I
Right.
am
And
then
now
you
with all I've
continue.
learned, and then
And then your logic of your science and all of that goes out the window for a piece of ass. All right.
like you said, piece of ass. Do you have any experience you want to share about filming the film? Good anecdotes, good stories?
I lost 15 pounds shooting it because we shot it in Georgia in August in a soundstage that had no air conditioning.
it was hot.
Very hot.
It was gross. It got a little
Really, really
swampy
hot.
in the nether areas.
Yeah.
So that was definitely part of it.
I think in the movie we could see a bit of sweat all over you.
Yeah, we didn't have to fake that.
No.
And
I was talking about this earlier, but one of the funny things was that Michael Ironside, we were also huge fans of him, and we got to work with one of our heroes, and he would always choose right as the cameras were rolling and we were about to start shooting to start telling me some stories about working with Paul Verhoeven or working with David Cronenberg, and
Yeah.
these are stories I desperately wanted to hear, but I had to choose between filming the movie and listening to his stories, and it was always a challenge because those are both two things I wanted to do.
He's such a good guy. I mean,
Yeah.
it was a really good movie. You should watch it. And of course, if you like mind-bending stories, it's totally for you guys. Can we say it? It's a bit a love story, sci-fi, time traveling love story.
Sure, yeah, there's definitely that element in there.
All right. So if you like those kind of things with thrillers and stuff, watch it. I recommend it.
Thanks.
I recommend it too because I'm in it.